Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Monday and welcome to our Celtic Triad series. Today we're talking about 3 slender things that best support the world. These triads were compiled by John F. Wright in 1995. Now the full triad reads, 3 slender things that best support the world. The slender stream of milk from the cows dug into the pail. The slender blade of green corn upon the ground. The slender thread over the hand of a skilled woman. So, let us begin with the slender stream of milk from the cows. Dairy products, as we know, are quite important in Western culture and have been for a considerable period of time. The people who evolved in Western and Northern Europe actually evolved so that they could better digest dairy, which is why you see less lactose intolerance amongst European peoples. And this dairy, it helps sustain people's lives. It kept people stronger and healthier. And of course, as we know, as we go back in time, there's less technology, less medical knowledge, and that meant that people were less protected as a society, from the elements, from illness, and that made having good overall health much more important. Of course, the stronger people were, the more likely that individuals, families, the community as a whole would be to survive and thrive. So that certainly did hold together the world of people. Now we have the slender blade of green corn. This, of course, is referring to barley corn. That was and is a historically important grain crop on the British Isles. It feeds both man and beast. It can be used to bake bread. And these days we have so many people avoiding carbs, but you go to a pre-industrial agricultural society, people needed to keep their energy up. And if meat was scarce, bread is something that would enable people to have the strength they needed to tend the fields and the livestock and do everything that they needed to do. Also, the yield from crops like this were used in trade. And of course, trade contributed to people's well-being, especially when both parties involved were satisfied. If you have good trade amongst people, it has a way of making it more worthwhile to get along with people than to engage in conflict with them, because conflict gets in the way of the trade and all the benefits you derived from trade, and that, of course, in turn causes suffering. So it's one of those things that it helped kind of knit people together and form productive relationships. Now we have the slender thread over the hand of a skilled woman. So weaving, knitting, sewing, making clothes, blankets, and other needed textiles, that was an extremely important duty of the women in a family. And just making one set of clothes for one person was a very lengthy process. You've got to card the wool to start with. You're spinning thread, you're making cloth, you're dyeing cloth, creating patterns, then you're doing the sewing. It involved a lot of labor. And just imagine being in the shoes of our many times great-grandmothers, having half a dozen children running around and trying to keep them in clothes as they're going through growth spurts and the normal wear and tear that any kid would put on their clothes. I mean, it's really a wonder that women of the time period got anything done besides clothes making. But they didn't. And as a result, people were not wandering through the earth stark naked and exposed to all the elements. And well, if you look at, all the aspects of this triad, from the milk to the barley corn to the thread, it's all about taking care of basic physical needs and how this, above all, is what holds a society together. I mean, just look at what happens when people lack food, money, and clothing. How quickly everything just unravels. But if you have the basic needs tended to, a community can survive, and that's a pretty important principle to keep in mind. So that's what I thought of this week's triad. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, or come see us on Discord at Blackbird's Brew. There is a link to join in the description box below, and we would be very happy to have a conversation with you. But until next time, that'll be all for now, and I'll see you in the next one.